Whether you're on it, your wife is on it, one of your friends, or maybe you just seen this in television, you know that peptides is currently one of the biggest industries out there, growing faster than the CBD industry. It's already generating more revenue than OpenAI and Anthropic combined. And in today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to launch your own telehealth business and how we'll do it looking back 4 years ago when we first started getting into the industry from scratch with $0. Now, there's an important disclaimer. It's first of all, I cannot make income claims. I don't know who you are. Never seen you before. I don't know if by taking this information you're gonna get any results whatsoever. But what I can tell you is I've been working in the peptide GLP industry for the past 4 years. We have an office here in Coral Gables, Florida as well, where we're flying clients, doing podcast interviews, and so on and so forth. And that there's two types of people. The first one pays with time. They try and figure out everything themselves, and it's fine. And what I'm going to be guiding you through today is going to be information that you can take and apply for yourself towards launching your own telehealth business, or maybe just learn a little bit more about that. The second type of person, the entrepreneur, the investor, they pay with money. They get the shortcut. They know they want to be launching this business. If that's the case, I invite you to go down and book a call with our team so you can learn a little bit more about what we do and how we can help you launch this business. But that being said, let's get into it. All right, really quick, just so that we can be on the same page. The way the industry started is people started realizing the medication like Ozempic and Wegovy helped them lose weight. Those medications were initially made for diabetes. And once people realized that they could lose 5-10 pounds a month with it, they started overusing it, having their doctors prescribe it even illegally. And so what happens is because there was so much demand for these medications and peptides, they went on the shortage list. Compounding pharmacies got activated, started producing these medications from scratch for much less than what the branded companies like Eli Lilly, Novo Nordisk are charging for it, and that led to the whole telehealth surge. Now fast forward to today, the industry went from being $27 billion and now is on pace to be $420 billion by 2034. There's 185 million Americans that need these medications that are adults, would qualify. They don't have anything that would potentially harm them or disqualify them, meaning not making them eligible to get these peptides and medications. And 72% of the population is either obese or overweight. And I'm just talking about the United States as we speak. I'm not even talking about the opportunity that you may have nationwide. The problem and the opportunity is that there's only 15,000 clinics currently doing this. And so what that means is if you do the math on this, each clinic should technically have about 10,000 patients at peak, which means that if you're profiting $100, $150 a month per patient, saying they only buy one peptide and you're pricing it very low, each of these 15,000 clinics should technically be making between $1 and $1.5 million a month in profit from all those patients. And so obviously that's very unrealistic to say because most people that get started in this industry don't have the right marketing in place to generate patients and don't have the right infrastructure. Hence why most clinics only have about 100 to 200 patients, which is still 25 to 50K a month business, don't get me wrong. But again, they don't have the right system and infrastructure to be able to grow. Now, to be clear, the biggest thing that matters when launching your own peptide business is compliance. You want to make sure that you have capital, time, and compliance. As long as you have those three, you're going to be able to launch your own brand and be profitable and make money over the next 5 to 10 years because this is a whole revolution in the healthcare industry. Indeed, we see margins being as high as 70%, as low as 40%, depending on your pricing strategy, with the retention for each patient being between 6 to 12 months and a 10x LTV to CAC. That means that if your cost per acquisition to acquire a patient is $200, it means that patient will pay you upwards of $2,000, which is 10 times what it costed you to acquire that patient. And that's where the opportunity is. Now, as we speak, RFK Jr. is currently legalizing peptides. 14 previously restricted peptides are now being legalized for human consumption, which, in my opinion, are going to lead to this industry being way, way bigger. Now, before we get into it, a little bit of background about me. My name is Peter. Over the past 4 years, I've helped existing brick and mortar clinics scale, adding GLPs. I've helped existing telehealth businesses do things more compliantly, generate more patients. I've also helped over 100 entrepreneurs, investors, and doctors to start from scratch and build a profitable telehealth business that gets to a 7-figure run rate within their first 12 months of launching it, even without a medical license. I've created a complete turnkey solution that helps you launch a telemedicine peptide business from scratch, be live in 30 days, ready to generate patients and scale. I've spent, as we speak, well over $8 million in GLP-1 advertising alone and generated over $29 million in patient revenue for my clients combined. One of my clients, Adam, he went from zero to making $249,000 a month with his own telemedicine business. As you can see, they have over 980 active patients, primarily selling tirzepatide, semaglutide, BPC, TB500, Reta, which is something that we just launched. And over the past 90 days alone, we were able to generate close to $680,000 with this business. That goes to show that you can do this without a medical license, and you can do this without having too much business experience. So let me break down why would you even launch a telehealth business in the first place, now that I gave you a little bit of proof and credibility of who I am. I also have an office here in Coral Gables in Florida, where we have over 30 employees. We also fly some clients over for podcasts, etc., and having a deep dive business breakthrough analysis of their business so we can help them grow even further. All right, why would you launch a telehealth business in the first place? So typically the clients and the people that come to us reach out for help are either working some sort of job. They're working a 9 to 5, maybe you're a doctor, you're constrained, you don't have time to spend with your loved ones, you don't have time for yourself, and not making enough money. Okay, those are typically one of the biggest reasons. Or you may be an entrepreneur, an investor who's looking for a better vehicle, profitability, and a business that doesn't require too much time to run and can still scale, and it's an actual business, not a side hustle or one of those overhyped opportunities like Amazon FBA, e-commerce. Now, why would you launch this in the first place? Well, first of all, there's a cash flow part, which is very important. Like I was showing you, the average retention per patient is upwards of 6 to 12 months. We've had patients staying with us for years, like I'm going to show you right now. Okay, this is all HIPAA protected. There's a lot of things that I cannot go through, but as you can see, we've had patients paying us upwards of $4,000 for peptides over the past couple years. Specifically, this is just one client that I'm showing you. They have 120 pages of patients who are active and paying, and have paid thousands and thousands of dollars. So cash flow is the biggest thing. More so, MRR, monthly recurring revenue. You acquire a patient, that patient stays with you for 6 to 12 months and beyond, which is extremely important. And on top of that, it kind of grows by itself too, through affiliates, referrals. There's multiple acquisition channels. Advertising is another one that we use, organic. There's so many different ways to generate patients on a recurring basis, so that if ads get cut off, if there's a problem with advertising, you still have organic, you have referrals, you have affiliates, and so on and so forth. On top of that, it's the profitability. Okay, so this is one of the partner pharmacies that we use. Our costs on the medication, all in with shipping, syringes, instructions, kit, everything, is $39 for a 5 milligram. You can realistically sell this medication for as low as $4.99. This is a telehealth business doing $10 million a month. And this is one of our clients who's making about $50,000 a month with us, who's selling it for $249 a month and has a little bit of a higher price point. So your profit margins are very, very high, as I'm showing you. And on top of that, what telehealth businesses are, a core, is they're just sales and marketing organizations, as you see. Your whole goal is, well, how can I acquire patients? And then once you have that patient, you would just be delegating the fulfillment to pharmacies and doctors that prescribe to those patients. Therefore, if you find a way to automate your sales and marketing, like I'm going to be showing you, you don't really need to be involved in the business, and you can start working on the business from the get-go, which is one of the hardest things to do when launching your own business, because you have to be involved in the operations, you have to be launching multiple different strategies and systems that you need to build, and on top of that, you need to be managing employees. Which brings me to my next point, which is I have seen and taken brands to upwards of $1 million a month with no employees. One of the biggest companies out there is called Medvi. Medvi does $1.8 billion with no employees. It's this person, Matthew, and his brother, Elliot. And they've taken this company from zero to $1.8 billion in a matter of 2 years of launching it, solely selling peptides and doing marketing. Moving forward, what are the biggest problems when launching your own telehealth business? Because I know it looks very simple to do, I know it looks very shiny, but most people that launch a telehealth business end up failing miserably, and I'll break down why. The first big reason is they have a bad pharmacy partner. And so what that means is medications arrive late, the purity of the products is not good, which means that patients get side effects, they don't get the results. The titration process, which means what is a ramp up phase that the doctor is using with each patient to get them to their desired outcome, losing 50, 60 pounds, which is the average that we see amongst all the tens of thousands of patients we were able to generate for our clients. And so if this is not made the right way, then patients can get side effects or they don't get the results. And so a single bad pharmacy relationship can really collapse your cash flow in a matter of 30 days. The second big problem that I see is that most investors, entrepreneurs, doctors that launch their own telehealth brand do non-compliant advertising. And this is a huge problem in this industry. This is one of the most regulated, compliant industries out there where you need to be doing things the right way if you want to be succeeding. And so what I mean by that is you're making claims, you're saying lose X amount of pounds in X amount of time or your money back. That's non-compliant. You cannot do it. You are using AI testimonials, which are going to be getting you in trouble, / AI doctors to promote your products, which again is non-compliant. You are fabricating proof articles, which again is non-compliant, and that could get you sued. One violation will not only get your ad accounts restricted, but it will also result in a fine of upwards of $1.5 million directly from the FDA, which it doesn't matter how much money you have, it's not fun to get whatsoever, especially if you don't have enough capital to launch this business. The third one, and obviously I'm going to be showing you how we fix all of those in a second and how you can position yourself and launch this business the right way without getting in trouble. The third one is payment processing. If you know Stripe, Square, they don't support telehealth because it's a low ticket recurring revenue subscription that can result in chargebacks and refunds if your medications arrive late or if the purity of the products is not good and therefore patients don't get the result. And so most people get shut down. We had a client 3 years ago before we were helping businesses launch from scratch. Back in the day, we were just doing marketing, which has been my bread and butter for the past 4 years. And so this client was using Stripe. They had one dispute from a patient because they had a billing problem and they lost $18,000 and the ability to process payments. And not only that's painful, but again, you don't have any payment processing for the next 30 to 60 days as you figure it out, which means that you cannot get revenue in, which is a problem. Number 4, most people just don't have enough doctors and don't have the right backend to be able to automate all of this in a way that does not require their time. So not automated, not a problem that I see is people go ahead and hire doctors on retainer or a medical provider, which alone can cost you $1,500 to $3,000 a month, whether you have a patient or 1,000 patients, which again, when starting out can definitely result in a lot of money, especially if you don't know what you're doing when it comes to the acquisition process. Number 5 is the acquisition process, the sales infrastructure. Most people just don't have the right system to acquire patients in a way that's reliable, scalable, and simply don't have a system to take a lead to a customer that's happy, that's referring other patients, and that's buying more peptides from you. And maybe you can figure this out, but it requires your time. So the more patients you get, the more it becomes painful, which again stops you from really scaling this business up. Now, here's exactly what you need to do to be able to launch this business the right way without getting sued, without losing the ability to process, and without being so involved so that if you're working a job or you're running different businesses on the side, you can still launch this business, get it to a point where it's replacing however amount of money you're making so that you can go all in, have a cash flow business that's generating $100,000, $200,000 a month, or maybe as low as $30,000 to $40,000 a month if that's what you want. I mean, there's billion-dollar companies out there. Like I said, it's all a matter of capital. Do you actually have enough funds to invest in advertising? selling? Do you have enough time to dedicate to this, meaning patience, not so time that's involved in the sales or the operations? And then, are you compliant? And so here's exactly what you're going to need to do step by step. The first thing is you're going to need to get your LLC in place. Ideally, you don't want to be a healthcare company like a PLC. You want to be positioning yourself like a tech company, like an affiliate to your doctors and to the pharmacy. So going back to that client that I was showing you that we took from $0 to $50,000 a month in the first 4 months, we're making them look like a technology platform that's connecting patients with independent licensed providers and pharmacies, and is not itself a provider, pharmacy, or prescriber. What that does is it's removing liability from the back end if you do this the right way. Okay, I'm giving you something that a healthcare attorney will charge you thousands and thousands of dollars just to tell you. Now, the second thing you're going to need is your website. You're going to need a website that's compliant, a website that looks good, that inspires trust, because nobody buys a peptide from a site that looks scammy, especially if this is something that they're going to need to inject or ingest. They're simply not going to buy if they feel that you're not trustworthy and that you're an amateur and you've just started your own business. And so whatever you do, you really want your website to look reliable. You want your website to look clean, and you don't want to look like an amateur, just like I said. So you have your website, has to be fast to load, compliant, no claims of weight loss, no lose X amount of pounds or your money back, no lying on where your medications are coming from, which I'm going to get to in just a second, and then built for conversions. Your website is not a source of information, it's a marketing asset. It should be taking people from being interested to paying you money through a funnel, which I'm going to show you in a second as well. The third thing is you need LegitScript. Okay, LegitScript is a certification that you're going to need to advertise prescription drugs, just like GLP-1s. Okay, there's multiple prescription drugs that you could be advertising, and I'm going to be giving you all of them. So pick a sub-niche, a small market that you want to go towards. It could be busy women, they don't have a lot of time for the gym. It could be corporate women, they're making 6 figures a year, they don't have a lot of time for the gym. Peptides look really attractive. It could be dads who want to show up better as husbands, as fathers for their kids. It could be athletes who want to maximize their performance through NAD and other medications that may help with their brain clarity, with their energy, ATP production, and so on and so forth. Now, the top peptides that we're currently advertising for our clients are the following: GLP-1s, GLP-3s, NAD+, and then we have BPC 157 and TB 500 as a combo. We're also advertising peptides like C-Max, and I'll be breaking down all of those. This is specifically for weight loss. The difference between a GLP-1 and a GLP-3 is a GLP-3 is a triple antagonist. It is not currently FDA approved. So if you're selling this, you need to make sure that you're displaying that this is for research use only, not for human consumption. This is one of our brands. Look at the difference in the look of the website when you're selling research-based peptides like BPC, like GLP-3s, like Reta. These sites and funnels, they're specifically for research use, not human consumption. On the other side, this is a GLP-1 brand primarily selling approved GLP-1 medications like compounded semaglutide, tirzepatide, and Wegovy. NAD+, this is for ATP, energy. BPC 157, TB 500, this is specifically for recovery. And then C-Max is for brain, clarity, cognitive function. Ideally, you want to be picking maybe a few. You may want your brand to be NAD+, BPC, and C-Max. You may want it to be GLP-3s and BPC and C-Max, which is research, or you could make it GLP-1s and NAD+, which are both approved. Now, once you have this done, this is, I would call this basics. Those are the foundations of your business. Now we get into the fun part, which is your back end, and then we're going to be getting into the acquisition. Here's everything you need. You need a pharmacy. Your pharmacy needs to be LegitScript certified as well. You're going to be running your own advertising. It needs to be in all 50 states, and it needs to have good costs. A lot of pharmacies are going to try and overcharge you, and then the more you grow, the better the costs you're going to get, just like the cost that I showed you, which we guarantee for all of our clients that work with us, because we're processing multiple millions of dollars a month in orders, not revenue, amongst our pharmacies. Therefore, I can really drive the cost down for all of our clients. But a lot of people starting out would actually pay twice or thrice what I showed you before for tirzepatide. And obviously tirzepatide peptide is a GLP-1, just like semaglutide. The second thing that you need is you need a doctor's network. If you're not a doctor yourself and you don't have a DEA and an NPI, you're gonna need to find doctors who can prescribe and then handle patient care management. The third thing you're gonna need is your payment processing. So there is a chance that with LegitScript, you may be able to get access to Stripe or Square at the same time. If you get one dispute, you're gonna be shut down, and maybe you're gonna be shut down before as well if you're processing too much volume too quickly. So another thing that you could do is so many different ways to get access to payment processing. One way is cloaking. Cloaking means that you are getting a payment processor and you're selling these prescriptions as clothes, as accessories, as travel bags. And again, this is not good because when a patient will dispute, they'll quickly figure out you're actually selling peptides and not lamps, and they will shut you down. So the other option you have is offshore processors. We also have a partnership directly with Stripe. So we have what's called an enterprise account for our clients where they get access to Stripe, authorized on that and similar payment processors with Apple Pay and financing without being restricted or shut down. But another option could be you just got an offshore payment processor specifically for peptides. You could probably Google it. A lot of them charge you very high fees and also have a reserve in place, unfortunately. So keep this in mind. With us, you would actually be paying 2.5% plus 30 cents a transaction with no reserves. So you would just get paid out the profits, etc. Now, after you have this, either you run the whole show, and when a patient pays, you take the intake form, you send it to the doctors, and then the doctors would give it back to you with the prescription, and you would give it to the pharmacy, and then the pharmacy would handle that. Or you could build some kind of system with an EHR in place for the doctors to store all of that information because it is HIPAA compliant and has to be protected. The third thing that you're going to need is the marketing. You need the right marketing system. There's so many different ways that you could approach this. The first one is referrals. As you know, you could ask friends, you could go to conferences, you could join weight loss groups and start pitching this idea. You could go locally and do some local advertising. The second one would be affiliates. You build your own network of affiliates. You offer them $50 to $250 per conversion per patient. So every patient they bring you, you would give them between $50 and $250 for that patient. This is a very reliable way to grow. Referrals are also pretty good, but typically won't get you past 50 to 100 patients. Affiliates can get you upwards of millions of dollars a month. I know of a telehealth brand that we personally consult for right now that went from $0 to $1 million a month just off affiliates alone. The third one, in my opinion, the best in terms of how reliable and scalable this is advertising. So you would run ads on Google, pretty expensive now, I don't recommend it. More so Facebook and Instagram. I wouldn't go anywhere else. I wouldn't look into TikTok because that's cheap traffic. I wouldn't look into Pinterest. I wouldn't look into anything else besides Google and Meta, so Facebook and Instagram. Now, how would the sales process actually work? So let me break this down. You would want your sales process to be simple. Okay, simple is the word. Simple scales, complex fails. Have your sales process as simple as possible. There's two ways that you can go about it. The first one is you do what's called a call funnel. Okay, a call funnel is you are running an ad and then you're sending patients to a calendar. Okay, in this calendar, they would be booking a consultation with you, and then you would sell them on the peptides and on the medication after getting all the information that the doctors would need to qualify them, which is typically going to end up being their BMI, in depth with their height, weight, age. You would also want to know about previous surgeries. You would also want to know about any diseases, cancer, thyroid cancer, MTC, liver disease. There's so many, and the doctor would then review this intake and either approve or decline the prescription for that specific patient. The second option, which in my opinion is the best option. Now, why is this the best option? It's called direct to consumer. Direct to consumer is the same strategy that huge peptide and e-commerce brands are using to get patients, which means you're running an ad to an intake form, and then from that intake form, you would just get them to buy instead of having having a consultation. Now, this is a much more complex sales process in terms of what it could break. I'll give you a perfect example. If your ads are bad, meaning they're talking to the wrong people, not a lot of people would go through the intake form, and not a lot of people would buy. If your intake form is poorly assembled, what does that mean? It means that you're asking for their name, email, phone number right away. I'm going to be showing you some examples of this as well. And then you have all of your intake information, and it's having a lot of friction. You're asking 18 questions at a time. Then that could cause so much drop off for people to actually buy. And then the third thing is buy. What could go wrong when you buy? Well, it's a great question. What could go wrong when people go at your checkout is either you don't have enough options for them to buy. So you would want to be offering a monthly subscription, a 3-month, and a 6-month. Not a lot of patients that just saw your ad are going to buy right away. Therefore, you need the right process. You want to stack proof. You want to have testimonials. You want to have clear messaging that's communicating to them who this is for, who this is not for, and then information that they would likely need to be able to make a decision and really just feel more comfortable, because this is all it comes down to. If I pay this peptide brand, I'm actually going to get my medication, and is the medication going to be high quality? And so what that could mean is what happens after patients buy, which is an important question. What happens after they pay you money? And then how soon can they get their medication, expectations in communication, delivery, etc. And then, like I said, making sure that the whole system looks extremely reliable and professional, so that patients don't know that you just launched a business last week, but they see you as an expert because you have proof, you can communicate to the right people, you know who they are, they feel understood, therefore they trust you. And what that's going to do is allow you to get patients to actually go ahead and buy. I'm going to show you an example of a sales process that you could literally replicate that's winning for all of our clients and has generated tens of millions of dollars for them collectively. Okay, amazing. So most people run their ads like this. They have a simple image with the offer. You don't really communicate and don't have anything that could make you stand out, where the patient would see this and say, hey, I can see why active trim is different and why I should buy from them. And then you would send them to a landing page, and Facebook bills you per click. So the more clicks your ad gets, the more you get billed. The secret to reducing your ad cost and lower the amount of clicks is talking to the right people and making sure you have qualification using something like a video ad, where you can screen out any discount hunters or just simply put unqualified patient. And then you would allow everybody to book and waste your time. So you would have no qualifications. As a result, you would be getting non-eligible price shoppers that end up not showing because they don't know or like or trust your clinic. And then you would send them a bunch of automated text messages that are non-personalized. And then as a result, you would get a few people to show up and buy, but mostly cancellations, no shows, and objections. Now, the simplest way to do this is, like I said, get very clear on the patients that you're targeting. We have personally a document of 61 pages going through every single little detail of every single ideal customer profile we've advertised to. Their pain points, who they are, what they do, their habits, what they're looking for, what are the things that have been missing from other companies, how we stand out, different angles, offers, etc. Now, at this point, you would hire UGC creators and models to run your video advertising, communicating about the offer and who this is for and who this is not for, and then having a call to action. I'm going to be showing you an example of a video ad that we did for one of our clients.
I get it. A weight loss program designed for busy women that actually works sounds too good to be true. Until you realize it's backed by GLP-1 medication that curbs cravings and helps you eat less without thinking about it. And that's not all. Delilah delivers the meds straight to your door, so there's no doctor visits and everything's happening online. Just a simple, effective way to lose weight. I've tried every diet under the sun and nothing stuck. I'd either be starving or felt like I had to give up all my favorite foods. But with Delilah, I've already lost so much weight without the usual struggle. And right now, you get $100 off your first order. You've got to try it to see for yourself. Click below to take the quiz and see if you qualify.
Okay, awesome. At this point, you would be sending all the traffic from your video advertising to a website, to the landing page that you have, and funnel them through that intake form. So the way this works is we actually don't make this look like an intake form. I more so want to make this look like a quiz that they can go through. The reason behind that is we get significantly less drop off by them going through an intake form. I already filled this out randomly, so it remembers my information. But this is so simple to go through as opposed to a long intake form, and they would add in their name, email, phone number, date of birth, where should we send your treatment to, what is your preferred treatment. We have semaglutide, we have tirzepatide. This is a funnel specifically for GLP-1 medications, as you can see. And then at this point, that would process their information, approve it, and get them to buy a checkout where they have different options like I was articulating before and where they could buy. And so like I said, we have a partnership directly with Stripe. So we have access to their enterprise account. We have Link, Apple Pay, financing. We also accept all credit cards and debit cards, obviously, as well as ACH to maximize our conversions for each patient. And then as you can see, we will just add more proof and talk about what this is, how it works, as well as having disclaimers to make sure that we don't have any income claims, as well as having clear disclaimers to make sure that we are protected legally. This is another example for another one of our clients. What happens next: physician review, fast prescription approval, medication shipping, monthly refills, unlimited support, real reviews from patients, more proof, more reviews, what is included, exactly what they're getting, a weight loss guaranteed. But as you can see, we're not telling them that they're going to get their money back. We're just saying, because we have so many people, we have confidence that you would get the results as well. All right, that's pretty much it for this video. Hopefully you appreciated, you got some notes, you know exactly what to do moving forward when it comes to launching your own business. Now, if you really want to shortcut everything and just get to your outcome, get to build a business that's making 30-40 grand a month, as low as that, upwards of hundreds of thousands of dollars a month, 7 figures a month, you can click the link down below this video, book a call with our team directly, see if you qualify, and we'll break down this business model even more in depth for you so you can understand it in full, and then talk about possible next steps when it comes to working with us from scratch.